So you're interested or decided you wanted to go to Panama. I spent around 10 days in Panama, going from Panama City to Boquete, staying in hostels to boutique hotels. I wish I had a video like this really breaking down all of the things to do day by day before I went to Panama. So in this video, I'm going to tell you where to stay, what to do, how to get around, and stay toward the end to get a price breakdown of how much everything costs. Hi, welcome to the Yellow Jacket Guide podcast. My name is Rayhana and I have been to 20 plus countries, and this show is for anyone who wants to live a fearless travel lifestyle. So why go to Panama? Here are a few important things to know about Panama even before you book your flight. Panama uses the US dollar. So in comparison to other countries nearby like Costa Rica or Colombia, Panama is a little bit more on the expensive side. You can find cheaper options in terms of like food or hotels, but it's not going to be as cheap as maybe some other Central American countries. The next tip is that getting around Panama is pretty easy. They do have Uber, so as long as you have the app, you can pretty much get anywhere. And especially in places like Panama City or Bocas del Toro, it is really walkable, so you can get anywhere on foot. The next thing is that the best time to go to Panama is December through April. That is their dry season, so it will be less rain, more sun, very relaxing, and you won't have to worry about any bad weather. Me, on the other hand, I went at the end of May and I didn't have any problems. There was really like only one rainy day. So I would say May is also a good time, but later in the year, it might be pushing it if you want to be more outdoorsy. In terms of itinerary, I would recommend going to Panama between 7 and 10 days. I think that is more than enough time to hit a lot of the major staples of the country and still feel like you saw everything. I was in Panama for 9 days and went to Panama City, San Blas, Boquete, and Bocas del Toro. So let's break down everything I did city to city for my 9-day excursions through Panama. So I landed in Panama at 1:30 p.m. and went straight to my hostel, and I stayed at Hostel Casa Areca, and that was in Panama City. So I stayed there for 3 nights. Usually when I go to hostels, I don't stay in shared rooms. I got my own room with my own bathroom, and it was really nice. It was clean. It's a hostel, so it wasn't like a luxury apartment or anything, but it was enough where I can have a safe place to leave my stuff, leave my laptop, and sleep at night and have to worry about people snoring next to me. So after I checked into the hostel, I booked a free walking tour through Guru Walk, and I love going on free walking tours. I feel like it's a really good first step to going into any sort of country, so you can kind of get like the lay of the land, and it's free because we're balling on a budget. So the walking tour was 2 hours, and surprisingly, I was the only one on the walking tour. I feel like usually they don't do single person walking tours, but regardless, it was me and the guide, and we went to the Mola Museum where I got to see a lot of historic Panamanian textiles and artwork. We went to a lot of cathedrals, and the guide was telling me about all of the Catholic events and stuff that they do over there. And then we went and saw the beaches in Panama City. So it was really nice, and it was a very nice way to like see where I was staying and to understand a bit of the history. Then I went to dinner at a restaurant called Diablos, and I got this like full fish and rice dish. It was pretty good. It was definitely meant for 2 people because I had a lot left over. They gave me a free bottle of wine, but I was just like, I don't drink wine, and I tried to give it back to them, and they were just like, no, take it. So I just left it in the hostel because I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? And that was day 1. So the next day I was scrolling on social media. I was actually on Facebook, and I joined a lot of Black expat Panamanian groups, and I saw that they were having a meetup at a rooftop hotel, and it was free to go. So I was just like, oh, that seems like something I can do for dinner. But I did have to work earlier that day, so I was like, okay, let me work and then I'll go to this meetup at night. So I was done work around like 3 p.m. and I was just like, I don't want to wait until 7 for this meetup. So I decided to hit up Cinta Costera. I hope I'm saying that correctly. But it's a waterfront park where they have like a paved road. They have chairs and swings up against the water, and that was really, really cool. And I just kind of walked over there just to get a lay of the land and just relax but walk at the same time. Then I tried a really popular dessert in Panama called raspado, which is pretty much like a icy or like a snow cone. I don't know what the specific flavor was. I think it was strawberry. I would rate it like a 6 out of 10. For some reason, it just tasted really artificial to me, but you know, to each their own. After I had my little snack, I went to the meetup. It was hosted by Aloha Milani, who was really nice. She was really welcoming, especially for me because I wasn't living in Panama. So a lot of the people there either lived in Panama or recently moved to Panama. And it was nice to just see like a lot of black people, a lot of like black Americans there, and just to hear how they got there. And it was really, really cool to meet them. So day 3, I booked a trip to go to San Blas, which is one of the most popular islands in Panama. I booked this excursion through TripAdvisor, but this one, they pick you up at like 5 a.m. Then they take you to the entrance of the park in order to get on the boats to go to San Blas. So make sure if you are going to book a tour that it is all-inclusive and you don't have to give up any extra money when you get there, because I had to pay out of pocket for the park entrance fee and for lunch that I both thought was included. But when I got to San Blas, it was so relaxing. I just really needed a vacation. I got on the boat. We went to the islands. They had a paddle board, and I never paddle boarded before, so that was really cool. They had people giving out coconuts, like fresh off the trees. I almost got hit by a coconut, which opened up a whole new fear. But a lot of people also go to San Blas and stay for like a few days. I don't necessarily think you need to stay multiple days unless you kind of want to be isolated and not in a city at all. I feel like there's more interesting places to go to rather than San Blas, so I would stick with a day trip. So on day 4, we are going to leave Panama City and we're going to go to Boquete, which is a very popular town in the mountains. And I would not skip Boquete. Like, if you don't go to anywhere else, you have to go to Boquete. I stayed at Bambuda Castle Hotel, and oh my gosh, this place was so freaking nice. I'm used to staying at hostels and places that are a little janky, so I was just like, if I'm gonna stay up here in the mountains of Panama, I want to stay somewhere that's different. And it's advertised as like the only castle in Panama, so of course I had to stay there. The food was really good, the views were excellent. I stayed in like the tower of the hotel, so I just felt like a princess and I was living my best life. So now that we're checked in, we are going to go on a coffee plantation tour. And I know that might sound a little crazy coming from somebody like me, but the coffee tour was so cool. You really get to see how coffee is produced, how it's grown, and you get to see the process from start to finish. So it was really cool. It was really interesting. Sometimes I feel like we're so out of touch with nature, so just seeing the process of how we get things on our shelves is very interesting to me. So I would heavily recommend a coffee plantation tour. So day 5 is going to be an outdoorsy day. So we're going to wake up early and go to the Barro volcano by car. Now, you can also hike the volcano, but it takes 8 hours and we don't have that much time. So they pick you up from the hotel at around like 3 a.m. and they are 4-wheeling up the mountain. When I tell you, it was like a roller coaster for like 2 hours. It was crazy, but I can sleep through anything, so I would sleep most of the time. Then you get up at the mountain during sunrise. You can do a little bit of a hike to the peak of the mountain, but it's not anything strenuous. And they give you breakfast and hot chocolate. And I had a really great time, and the views were immaculate. Oh my gosh, I swear I took a picture of this mountain and it seemed like a face on the side of it. I am kind of low-key into conspiracy theories and think that mountains are giants, but that's another story for another day. And later in the afternoon, I decided to go on the Lost Waterfalls hike. Now looking back, I probably should have went earlier in the day. I started the hike maybe around like 4 p.m. and that is pretty late considering it gets dark early. So I would recommend going earlier so you could have more time to really enjoy and experience the hike without having to rush to get home. They do have taxis and shuttles that goes to and from the mountain, but if you wait too late, they will close and the shuttles and the taxis won't be there and you won't have any reception. I pretty much got stuck on the mountain. Don't do this, but I had to rely on strangers who I met coming down the mountain to give me a ride back to my hotel, and in hindsight that was not a smart thing to do. But would I rather be stuck in the mountains with coyotes and jaguars and who knows what's out there? Nope. Or risk it with these people? I decided to risk it. Wouldn't recommend, but thank God I came out of it safe. So now we're in day 6. We are going to go from Boquete to Bocas del Toro, which is an island town, just for another sense of like local scenery. So in order to get from Boquete to Bocas, I took a shuttle and a ferry to get there. When I got there, it was very different from what I imagined. I thought it was going to be kind of like a resort town, but it really wasn't. It was like a very calm neighborhood. So I stayed in Bambuda's Bocas Town Hotel, and it was really nice. It was the same branch as the Castle Hotel, so it was very clean. The amenities was really nice. The food was good. Also, they had a ocean swing and ocean view, so it was very calm and relaxing. Not gonna lie, I didn't have any real plans when I went to Bocas, but there are a lot of tour companies on the island, so they had different tours. If you wanted to go on a boat tour, if you wanted to go on a beach tour, I thought there would be more things specifically to do on the island, but it's really only restaurants and gift shops. So I decided to go to one of these tour companies and book an excursion for the next day. So on day 7, I decided to do a national park excursion to Marina Isla Basamentos. I hope I'm saying that correctly. So you kind of just stay at the beach all day. They take you to 2 different beaches. Now they have a bunch of different tours, but this was the specific one I chose. And you're kind of just in different areas. So you go from one beach to another beach to another beach, and they're just like, go have fun, be back here at X time. So it was really chill for me. I didn't have any problems. So on day 8, we're gonna take a later flight and go back to Panama City because we need to go back home. So we have to go back the way we came, from Bocas to Boquete, and then to the David Airport to go back to Panama City. So that in itself was a little bit of a headache, but you can get some help through your hotel. So day 9 is our last day. My flight going home was at 2 p.m. So I had the beginning of the day to see a little bit more of Panama City, but I decided to go to the Panama Canal. Now, I feel like you can't go to Panama without seeing the Panama Canal. However, I did get there pretty late. You either have to go super early in the morning to see the ships come through the canal, or later in the evening. It's not a consistent flow of traffic. So after I realized I wasn't going to see any ships, I got my bag from the hotel and headed to the airport. And that was my time in Panama. I had a great solo trip. Panama will always be high on my recommendation list for any kind of traveler. So how much did everything cost? Flights and transportation cost around $598.25. The hotels and hostels cost around $417.64. And the excursions cost about $175, give or take. I wasn't tracking how much food or gifts cost, but roughly I would say $100 to $200 just to be safe. So let's calculate all of that up. I would say Panama is on the affordable side when it comes to traveling. You could do more, you could do less, but for budget travelers, if you do want to go to Central America, I feel like there are cheaper places, Panama is close to Colombia, and I feel like Colombia is a bit more affordable, but Panama itself has a very rich culture. You will always find people who are willing to help you out. You will always find fun things to do, and yeah, Panama was a 10 out of 10 in my book. Those are my tips and itinerary for Panama. Let me know if you found this video helpful and if you would go to any of these places or have been to any of these places. Thank you for listening. You can follow me on Instagram at The Yellow Jacket Guide. You can listen to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And also you can watch this podcast episode on YouTube at The Yellow Jacket Guide. Thank you for listening, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.